the documentary Metamorphosis. I wanted to just document something. I was just leaving my mate Abdurrahman after picking up some camel meat. Australians have got a fair bit to say about going to Red Sea groceries in Maruka and getting yourself some good camel meat. It's the 23rd day of May 2024. There's this stuff that's there that's quite pertinent, and there's my natal chart is kind of almost reflected, like it's almost this chart. My birth chart is almost what it was when I was born. It's full moon in Sagittarius, which is the moon that I was born under, and basically every other planet is in the same kind of position as where it was, to reference to each other and the Earth when I was born, except for Mercury was in a pretty full-on retrograde. Full-on retrograde in comparison, in reference, I'm sure, to where everything else was. And now Mercury's just come out of retrograde, and that's the only thing, from what I understand, it is different in my birth chart. Sorry, a little bit all over the place here as far as focus is concerned. So there's a lot that's churning over in me, and it's a very highly electric, very highly intense time. And I've noticed that I feel remarkably better from having spent about an hour and a half with my friend Abdurrahman, just talking about all this different cultural stuff and meeting different African people from different countries, and just having a really beautiful cultural experience. And it just puts everything into a particular contextual contrast of this is this, and this is where this is, and this is that, and this is where that is, and they both are in relation to each other as far as they are this and that, and they are where they're at. And then also there's this really intense but very beautiful contrast. There's this contrast to it all. And within all of that, I've been putting in a hell of a lot of energy. Like, all the energy. I've been in a very reclusive, isolated, insular place in myself and in the world. Not going out interacting with the world, not putting myself in the world where this thing that was going on with police pulling me over and setting me up and framing me, or just chasing me down the road with lights and sirens because I witnessed a traffic accident and called in a safety concern on the road, all the way through to I'm just not creating anything in my life. I'm not starting anything with anyone. I'm not trying to find any work. I'm not trying to generate. I'm not doing anything until I sort this inner turmoil out. And I'm still on that quest, very much, after 5 solid weeks. Yesterday I kind of did some other stuff for about 4 to 6 hours and wasn't entirely focused on this, but back to it last night and then today. Like, it's absolutely vital that I find this inconsistency in myself and this disharmony, which apparently everybody else can see but me. But the feedback that I'm getting is that I need to come to understand, come to terms with the idea that perhaps I am the center of my reality. Like, I am the person that creates my life and my reality. And so much so in such a simple manner that I totally need to come to terms with that. And also this whole thing that I am a primate. That I have opposing thumbs. I can tie my shoelaces, I can put my pants on in the morning, I can drive a car, I can write with pens and pencils. Like, it seems to be, that's the feedback that I'm getting. And when I really clarify and go, so is this where we're at now? Like, is this, after everything that I've said to someone who's a mentor and a friend, then for a long time now, for nearly 20 years, for 18 years, and then on the contrast, I have a mentor who's like a friend who became a mentor, and it's a very special relationship. And I've had that. This is what this whole documenting Metamorphosis is about. I've actually got two mentors, you know, both John and Jackie. Jackie has really touched me recently. Like, she really moved me, and then some of the things that she said has really touched me and really moved me. But this improvisation and some of her work is just, it's very much moved me. It's very much helped me a lot. It's helped me a lot, very much. And Francis has helped me a lot, very much as well. The other mentor of like 18 years. And he's the only person who's been able to reach me at times. And there seems to be this thing, like he's really trying to tell me that I need to come to this point of understanding that I am the creator of my reality, of my experience, like as though I'm fucking blaming everyone else for the circumstances of my life still. Like, it's getting a little bit old now, because I'm trying to say that I've worked that bit out and I'm looking very deeply for all these other things, but I admit I am very much lost in the forest that I'm not able to see because of all the trees. So what I have after this last weekend, I've spent last weekend, after this 5 solid weeks of retreat, just writing all day, and being very clear about what I think and feel about all these different things, or where I'm at, what I've found, what I haven't found, what motivates me, what inspires me, what my intention is, what drives me, what my challenges are, what my weaknesses are. Like, very clear about who I am and what I am and where I am. And what that does is that puts me in a position of very clearly saying that this is what I intend, what I try to create in the world, my intention of creation in the world. And then the results show that there's some pretty massive disharmony. But also there's results show that I make my decisions, and there's so many choices that I make in absolute full acceptance and responsibility of the risk. And so I'm living the risk now. I'm living the consequences of that risk. Like, it went bad. Yeah, I knew the risk. Yeah, I saw the signs, I knew the risk, I made a decision, I acted from my heart. So yeah, I own it. I'm not blaming anyone for this kind of stuff. Then what goes with that as well is vulnerability. And that's what this whole thing is about. I just spent 9 minutes giving context to try and really show the vulnerability is this massive thing that is me in my life, and I really tried to be a shining example of vulnerability. So my brother blocked me on the Facebook Messenger. Like, I don't even use that app So it's kind of this really strange thing, and he's got all this stuff that he seems to have made up about me that isn't actually real. And so then he's gone and blocked me, and so I wrote this letter to him, but I had to post it as like a press release to the World Wide Web through Facebook, so that's I'm being respectful, and he may or may not ever read it. And it's about vulnerability. It's about, I've only got good vibes to put out there into the world, and I try to be a shining example of vulnerability for all the reasons why vulnerability is fundamental to being able to love properly and to receive love and to live in love. This was a massive thing that they found in 1968 with this whole hippie movement thing that was occurring in the United States. It was very much academically researched, and if you want to boil it down to one word, all of that, then it's the word vulnerable. Being comfortable with feeling vulnerable. And I really feel like that is the big thing that I'm getting clear on in myself. And if there's one thing that is something I can put out into the world today that is very fundamental to what we are doing as human beings living in these human being bodies, it's about vulnerability and then love. Okay, so that's a massive big thing. Now the relevance is for the documenting Metamorphosis for the Nobbs Suzuki Praxis is about that vulnerability does carry through to everything that I do. So my life is art, and the art of living is vulnerability, and making John and Jackie the mountain that the weather can break against, which is not what they do. That is something that I do, to be clear about that. Again, like, that is something that I do. I make them, I turn them into the mountain that the weather breaks against. I make myself the weather. But that's all about vulnerability. And absolute vulnerability gives rise to the absolute transparency and the absolute willingness and the absolute inspiration, the absolute motivation, the absolute drive, and the absolute determination to do your best, to be your best. It all comes from the vulnerability. And I feel like I shared some moments today with my very dear friend, and you know, it's really all about the dogs and just having these moments with the dogs. And I hosted a conference for a men's circle, compassionate leadership training and intimacy on Tuesday, and it went very well. And also all this other stuff came back in my life as well, because nothing changes but self. But when self changes, the whole world changes. And I get that in the results, you know. And then, like, I have all these results. I find it really funny that I'm getting told that I need to try and realize that I'm a primate with opposing thumbs, basically, and like I'm creating my life. You know, like, I really just don't get. Like, I think what that is about is that I use all these words to try and explain that I'm only putting out good vibes. I don't bring all this conflict and all this abusive stuff that you say is there. It's not actually there. And so then say, like, why don't we look at the proof? Well, we can't look at the proof because it's not actually there. We don't want to look at the proof. That means I'll be, you know, insisting. And what I see from that, you know, with my brothers, especially, is that when I'm vulnerable and with my children, I can stop myself mid-sentence and apologize for what I didn't even finish saying. My brothers hate that. They can't do that. They hate it. I feel it from them. I don't know if that's what that's all about, or if there's something else going on there. But there's a few other things that I could tie in with this, but I just wanted to get this thing out. That's why I'm recording while I'm driving. I wanted to get this thing out about vulnerability is that superpower that we all have. We all got to get there. We all got to love. Otherwise, we can't exist. And the vulnerability is the key to it. And then when it comes to the art, then the vulnerability is the big key to that as well. Again, vulnerability. And the other thing is to take stock of where I'm at as a musician, as an artist, as a writer, as a creator in all these different realms. I have actually really achieved a lot of this metamorphosis that this whole thing is about. And now I live that embodiment in a way that I actually had never really had any idea of a frame of reference of that before. So I feel very blessed. And I'm not really sure at this point if to continue with the documenting metamorphosis thing so much, or whether I should just be Bush Dran and Jim at the very least. If I do that, I will tie this up in some proper ending thing. But vulnerability is a massive thing. And I feel very much encouraged by John and Jackie to be vulnerable. I feel they see my vulnerability and they meet me there and they transform me. So yeah. Much love.